Here's a review lesson on geometric multiplication. You'll need your math book, a piece of graph paper, a pencil, a ruler, and 3 colored pencils, red, blue, and green. The first problem that we're going to work on is 2,543 times 45. We have a 4-digit multiplicand and a 2-digit multiplier. So go ahead and write that at the top of your paper. Okay, and we'll get started. We're going to begin by mapping out our multiplicand, and we're going to start with the largest digit, the 2. So at the bottom of the paper, on the left, not in the very left corner but a few squares over, you can make your beginning dot. Now the thousand place of our multiplicand is a 2, so we're going to jump over 1, 2 squares and make our second dot. Next, we'll map out the hundreds of our multiplicand, the next largest number, which is 500. So we'll map out 5 squares from this second dot that we've made. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's where we will make our third dot. Now, the next number in our multiplicand is in the tens place value, and it's a 4. So from that third dot, we'll map out 1, 2, 3, 4 squares and place a dot. And look at the units place value in your multiplicand. What number is that? It's a 3. So from here, we'll count 1, 2, 3, and put our dot. I'll show this close to the camera so you can make sure that you have everything in the right spot. And remember, we're just mapping out these dots based on the numbers that we see in our multiplicand for each place value. Okay, now it's time to map out the numbers in our multiplier, the 45. So from this last dot we made on the multiplicand, we're going to go up the same number of squares as the unit of our multiplier. Look at your multiplier, the 45. Which number is in the units place value? It's the 5. So we'll count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll place our dot there. Next, we'll do the tens place value in our multiplier. What number is in the tens place value of our multiplier 45? It's the 4. So we'll keep going 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up 4 squares. So close up, this is what we have so far. Okay, we'll use the ruler to complete our rectangle. So at the bottom, through those 5 dots, you'll draw a line. Then move your ruler so that you can put them through the 3 dots on the right side. And from the bottom dot to the top dot, you'll draw your line like this. Now we need to put a top to our rectangle. So from that top dot of our multiplier, we'll go across until we're right above this first dot that we made. and we'll complete the rectangle on the left side by going down to our first dot. So what you have now should look like a rectangle with 4 sides. Okay, it's time to put in our grid. So starting from the second dot that we made, we'll line up our ruler and stay on that line until we reach the top of our rectangle. So we now have a column of 2 squares that goes all the way up. This next dot, the third dot that we made, will also draw a vertical line that goes all the way up to the top of our rectangle. The same for the fourth dot, a line that goes all the way up to the top. So it's the height of our rectangle. Now what you have is 4 different columns of squares for the multiplicand. And it's time to put our last line in for the multiplier. That middle dot, it's not directly center, but towards the middle, will go along the width of the rectangle. It's starting to look like a checkerboard that's been stretched in different ways. Next, we will label this with the numbers 2000, right underneath that column for 2000, because we have to remember those place values. Then we have 500. What's the next place value in our multiplicand? It's the 40. And what's the next lowest place value? It's the last place value of our multiplicand. It's 3. So we have units, tens, hundreds, thousands. Now we need to fill in our multiplier on the right side. What was the unit of our multiplier? 5. And what's in the tens place of our multiplier? 40. So now we have all of our numbers in place. We can get to multiplying. We'll start here in the lower right corner, 3 times 5, and we will write that in this box. 3 times 5 equals, and what does 3 times 5 equal? If you're not sure, you can count these boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15! Next, we jump over to this rectangle, the 40 times 5, and we'll write that down in that section. 40 times 5 equals. Now what we have to consider really is the number of tens, which is 4 times 5. So what is 4 times 5? It's 20. But remember, we're not just multiplying 4 times 5, we're multiplying 40 times 5. This is getting tricky for me to show you. 40 times 5. And so if 4 times 5 is 20, we still need to put this extra 0 from the 40 at the end. So that we have 40 times 5 is 200. Remember that last 0 came from the 40. Next we'll do 500 times 5, and I'll write that down in this box. 500 times 5. So we're just working our way to the left. Now, just like before, we're going to multiply the number of hundreds, which is 5, times 5. So you think, what is 5 times 5? Yes, it's 25. But you've probably already remembered that we weren't just multiplying 5 times 5. We were multiplying 5 hundredths times 5. So we need to include those last 2 zeros that are part of 500. So next to my 25, I will write 2 zeros so that our answer to 500 times 5 is 2,500. One last rectangle for the unit of our multiplier, and that is 2,000 times 5. So that means we're multiplying 2 thousands times 5. And what is 2 times 5? It's 10. I'll write my 10. I'm going to have to write it at a diagonal because I'm running out of space in that small rectangle. But don't forget, we still have the 3 zeros from the thousands. Because it wasn't just 2, it was 2,000. So we need to include those last 3 zeros. So next to my 10, I'll write 1, 2, 3 zeros. So that my answer ends up being 10,000. 2,000 times 5 is 10,000. We've multiplied all of the multiplicand by the unit of the multiplier. Now it's time to multiply it by the tens of the multiplier, the 40. So starting at the top right of our rectangle, we'll multiply 3 times 40. So 3 times 4 tens. Well, 3 times 4 we know is 12. And then we have the 0 from the 40 to include. 3 times 4 is 12, so 3 times 40 is 120. Next, we'll multiply the tens of our multiplier by the tens of our multiplicand. 40 times 40. 4 tens taken 40 times. Well, we know that 4 times 4 is what? 16. And then we have a 0 from this 40 to think about, as well as the 0 from this 40 to think about. So we need to include our 2 zeros after the 16. And when we put in the comma, we see that 40 times 40 is 1,600. The next part of our rectangle is the hundreds of the multiplicand times the tens of our multiplier. 500 times 40. But what is 5 times 4? That's right, it's 20. So I'll write 20. And how many zeros are in the 500? There are 2. How many zeros in the tens and 40? There's 1. So together, the amount of tens in this equation, 1, 2, 3. So we need to include 1, 2, 3 zeros after our 20. And when we put those at the end of our 20, we see that it's 20,000. 500 times 40 is 20,000. Now there's only one more rectangle, one more section to consider. Our thousands of the multiplicand times the tens of our multiplier. 2,000 times 40. And we know 2 times 4, that's right, is 8. And how many zeros are in 2,000? 3. How many zeros are in 40? 1. So together, 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 zeros will be included after the 8. So that our final answer for 2,000 times 40 is 80,000. We did a lot of multiplication, but we're not done yet. To find our answer to 2,543 times 45, we still need to add. Oh, and I even forgot about the color pencils. You can color them in now if you want. Although I think a lot of you stopped doing that anyway, so maybe that's why I forgot. But remember that units is green. Sometimes it's nice to give your brain a little break from all that multiplying before we start adding. The tens place value is blue. And just be sure that you don't color over the math that you did. Otherwise, it's going to be hard for you to use what you did already. And you might have to do it again. Here's our other 10. Because we know that units times tens are always in the tens place value. And tens times units are always in the tens place value. So we have 2 tens. Then our hundreds will be in red. 10 times 10 is 100. Hundred times units is also 100. We have 2 different hundreds place values for our answer. Our thousands will be in green. We have thousands times units is thousands. And hundreds times tens is also thousands. 2,000 place values in our answer when we've multiplied a 4-digit multiplicand by a 2-digit multiplier. One box left is our 10,000s, because when we multiply 1,000 by a 10, our answer will be in the 10,000s place value, which will be blue. When we multiply a 4-digit multiplicand by a 2-digit multiplier, we'll get 1 10,000s. Okay, now it's time to add up our answers that we got down here in our drawing. Remember to always make sure that the place values are lined up in columns. So that means all of your units will be in one column. We'll look at this very first one, 15. We'll start collecting them up here. We have 15. The next one we did was 200. That was our answer. So notice how the units of my 15 are in line with the units of the 200. The tens of the 15 are in line with the tens of the 200. And I didn't have any hundreds in 15, so there's nothing there. Okay, so then the next answer we had was 2,500. The units for 2,500 are 0. The tens are 0. The hundreds are 5. And the thousands are 2. The next product that we have in our drawing is 10,000. Units, we have 0. Tens are 0. Hundreds are 0. Thousands are 0. 10,000 is a 1. So this is what we have so far. All of the products from when we multiplied the multiplicand by the unit of the multiplier. But we still have more products to include. Here we have 120, 0 in the units, 2 in the tens, 1 in the hundreds place value. What's our next partial product? 1,600, 0 in the units. What's in our tens? Another 0. What do we have in the hundreds? A 6 and a 1 in the thousands. And what is the next partial product? 20,000. We can both write them in together, but this time I won't say it out loud. Are we done? No, we're not. We have one more left. What's the last partial product? 80,000. Let's write them in at the same time. Okay, so here's what I have. I included the addition symbol here and the line underneath all of the numbers that we're going to add up. We'll start with the units, adding up all of these units, and then go one by one to the next highest category, adding up all of those numbers. So 5 plus 0 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 is 5. 1 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0. You can just ignore the zeros really. So it's going to be 1 plus 2. Is 3. How many hundreds? 2 plus 5 plus 1 plus 6. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I can't fit 14 right here, so I need to write the 4 and carry my 1 to add to the thousands. Another 4. 11, so I'll write the 1 and carry over the next one. And now we have our final answer. What is that number? How do you say it? 114,435. Wow, what a large number that you just multiplied. Write it up after the multiplier and the equal sign. Where we have the original problem, remember so long ago when we wrote that down. So that's how you do it. That's how you can do geometric multiplication. Experiment with different numbers. Throw a 0 in there every once in a while and see what happens. See if you can make a really big rectangle and then the tiniest rectangle. Maybe you try a 3-digit multiplier or a 5-digit multiplicand. I wonder how big you can make it. I hope you enjoyed the video and that reminded you of everything you needed. If not, you can always ask me and we can video chat.